And we are back, guys. I have a special guest in the house, and we're going to hang out for just a minute because I only have one viewer in here, and it says that live viewer is me. So we're going to wait a minute.
Good job.
But I don't know why it's not sharing this yet. But
after you just got through telling me that you set up this timer so everything looks right.
If everything looks right and it's good, we're live. It's just waiting for people to show up. But
love it.
We focus on perfection. You know,
exactly.
Perfection is it.
There's one of my boys. So Michael Bradley. So you'll see. I don't know. Can you see the chat? Janelle? I don't know if you can see it or not. Okay.
I cannot.
PJ just lets me moderate, and he just kind of hangs out and talks. So
cool. PJ, we're on the same way.
Yeah, he'll throw stuff up, and you just got to kind of like find it. And like, oh, okay,
yeah, it's probably going to cover up your
like
face at this point. I'm not sure,
right.
But I haven't done this narrow screen thing, so we're going to see how this all works.
Yeah, I was going to say this is like a. I picked the wrong color. I've got a gray wall background. I'm wearing a gray shirt. Like what?
You mean like with the 75 colors behind me? Yeah, I totally understand.
It's tough. I think I'm just gonna get like a banner or something for like when I do the pod. That way it's like the same.
Yep.
Figure out what like colorway is best. Put some logos or something on the sides, and then.
So talk to me because I'll teach you how to green screen, and you can put whatever you want behind you.
Yeah, but green screen is weird. Green screen.
Not if you do it right. You'd be surprised.
Just like you did the intro, right?
I've been sitting on a boat in podcasts before. People didn't know I wasn't not in my living room.
Sweet.
I used to have my wife behind me when I did my podcasts, and people didn't know. So
gotta have them.
For all you know, that's a green screen. It's just a really messy one.
I know, right? I mean.
So, all right, guys, we got a few people in here. So, for those of you who are not familiar with our guest, I wasn't either until I went to the trade show. So, to be honest, it's new to everybody. She's kind of got a small channel, but she's going to be going on a big adventure, a bunch of big adventures, really, this summer. So I wanted to bring her on to introduce her channel, introduce her to you, because not only is she going to be going on a big adventure, but whether she likes it or not, she's going to be doing a bunch of fishing with me in May. So
I'm excited.
I'm gonna let her take it away and talk about her channel a little bit, and then we'll just go down the typical rabbit holes that we always go down.
Okay. Hi everybody, my name is Janelle Orsino, but you might know me as Enthusiast Adventure over on YouTube, or if you follow my podcast, I have the Adventures Audio Podcast. Basically, I grew up having the best of both worlds. I would switch between going to the beach on the weekends, going to the mountains. It didn't matter which sun. So I have a lot of experience in the outdoors. Kayak fishing is my number one passion, but I love everything to do with the outdoors. And that's exactly what my YouTube channel is about. It's called Enthusiast Adventure because I got some energy. Okay, I've got some ADHD, and it goes sometimes. But I don't discriminate. I do airsoft, I do bushcraft, survival, fishing, all of that stuff. So, yeah, and like he said, I'm going on a big trip. I've got a short school bus that I have converted basically into a tiny house rig setup. I've got this really awesome electric e-bike that can take me off-road, and we're going to be getting into some really cool adventures coming up this year, and I'm super excited about it. And also, thank you for having me on the show. So, yeah, it's a little rundown of me.
Did you catch the enthusiast part, guys?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I'm trying to be toned down.
No, don't be.
You don't have to on this show.
Oh, okay.
No.
Good.
This is the opposite of
Yeah. All right.
This is probably the least structured podcast that I'm part of, and I'm at the point now where I'm part of a lot of them. So
you are.
I mean, hell, I'm probably going to be on yours a few times more, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm really excited to do the one about, like, content creating and all that. Like, I'm so stoked about that one. I was thinking about that one the other day. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get somebody to do that, so, because there's, like, so much stuff to it.
There is.
Insane.
And, like, when I met my friend Marissa, who lived out of a Sprinter van, she now has a fifth-wheel trailer camper, and,
product placement,
I met her,
sponsor me.
Soraya loves Monster, so before every video she goes, the adventure starts with a monster. She's trying to get sponsored.
Hey, you know, they throw money around.
I know, right?
Pepsi and Monster, man, those two companies will they'll sponsor a fucking raccoon race. Like, they don't give a shit. Like, those companies, you see Monster and Mountain Dew logos on some of the weirdest sports. Like,
even Red Bull.
Yeah, they're like, we're doing snapping turtle races brought to you by Livewire, and you're like, what the fuck? Like,
but it's accurate. Those are the
dude, it's
that are drinking that
crazy.
stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy, but
yeah.
And I will admit I'm a little off today because I'm still trying to recover from ice fishing. So
listen, I had at work today, all of our systems were down, so we were using like an off-brand scanner and like doing everything manually. So like
that's fun.
And I worked an extra hour, so I had like a real good time today doing customer service. So
so you were really loving the fact that I was sending you, hey, look, ice, and hey, look,
you're an
fish.
asshole for that.
So I sent a picture. So I'm going fishing with bear fishing tomorrow. And he's working too, and I sent him a picture of that trout, and he was like, dude, maybe we should just go to Waterbury like you're going tomorrow. I'm like, no, I want to go to the lake we're going to. And then he's like, okay, and then I literally, the first thing I did is took that picture as soon as I sent it to him, and I got literally the classic fishing buddy response. I got, fuck you,
yep.
Nice fish, but fuck you. I was like,
I thought that in my head, but I was like, nice one. I was nice.
No, call me out. That's if I send you a fish like that, and I'm probably sending it to you because I know you're at work. Because I also expect that when I'm at work, I'm gonna get those pictures too.
That's okay, but because I work part-time, like I only worked 5 hours today, but I picked this job because it's lighter, even though it can still be heavy at times. But like, it's a good grind for me. So like, I was happy to be at work knowing that I'm making money to save up for these adventures and these fishing trips. So I was like happy to be working, giving it my all. And now I'm just like, okay, podcast mode, fishing mode. Like I have the saltwater bug for some reason right now. So I've been looking at surf fishing stuff and like trying to get that ready because apparently the season opens in like a couple weeks. So here we go.
You know what's funny is partly why not that I didn't want to bring you on otherwise, but PJ kind of got into he joined the Jeep family. Yeah. And he's gonna start doing some Jeep camping, and he's big into like fly fishing and all of that. So
I did over the weekend, dude. Like that's what I did the entire last weekend.
Nice.
Slept out of my Jeep. I drove back to Pennsylvania. I stayed in my buddy's driveway one night, stayed there, nice. And woke up, got a shower at his place, and then I drove like up into the mountains, and I went to this brewery, and I was just sitting there, trying beers and stuff, and kind of talking to the bartender about different beers and stuff. And he's like, "What are you doing? Up here?" And I kind of told him what I was doing. I said, "I'm staying in my Jeep. I don't have anywhere to go." And he was like, "My brother has a business in town, and it's closed over the weekend. He's got a huge parking lot in the back. I'll call him and see if you can stay in his parking lot. It's free. You don't have to worry about anything." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I set up shop in this parking lot behind this building, had like 8 cameras all over the place. So I felt kind of safe.
You felt kind of safe and kind of watched at the same time?
I felt kind of safe. I'm like, okay, I got cameras everywhere, so if something does happen, at least it's going to be caught on film.
Yeah, at least I'll be able to, when I get arrested for loitering, at least I'll be able to have it on film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's still a few bugs I got to work out. I don't have the the reflective up against my windows. So when the sun comes up, dude, you're up. You're up.
So you had nothing in the windows, like
I had
nothing
in the windows. Nothing. My windows are tinted.
Yeah.
But I have a headband, and I put the headband over my eyes, and I slept like that there. But still, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, you're up. You're up.
When I was in Massachusetts, so I saw this hack on somebody who lives out of a van. His channel name is Van City Van Life. I don't know if you're familiar with him. It's him and his bulldog, lives in his van in Canada, super cool dude. But when he started, he would go to the dollar store and he would use like that thicker poster board, and he would cut that out and put that.
I was gonna say cardboard, dude. I've done it with cardboard.
But the nice thing about it is when the condensation happens, it doesn't warp. If you use the regular cardboard or paper, it's going to warp.
warps.
That foam is really nice. You can lower your window. You can like trace it from one side. Then you can cut it. And it fits nice and snug. It's black out, so it's no problem. It's super lightweight. It's $1 or $2 per sheet. It's either 2 for $1 or it's 1 for $1 or something. And works great. So that's what I used when I was in Massachusetts. And
you literally use a box cutter and cut it in and then just shove it in there.
Use my multi-tool. Yeah, it was great. Yep. So try it.
I'll have to try it because I just ordered right before I left. I called and ordered the rain guards, the vents.
Yep.
So I didn't get the condensation, and I was like, "Oh man, I hope these things show up before I leave." Because I was leaving Friday, they showed up Wednesday. Popped them right in, super simple. They just popped right in, and I took off.
You know what the other thing you need?
What's
the other thing you need, and they make them for Jeeps 100%, is they make a screen that goes on the outside of your window, and it's elastic.
Oh, yeah.
So that you can roll your window down and get airflow, but the screen keeps the bugs from getting in.
See, that's gonna be my summertime thing.
Yeah,
like right
he's
now,
not
I'm
ready.
still doing
not.
that.
Nope, he's not in there right now. He's in like
Still
late
doing the winter
winter
thing.
True.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you,
I
dude,
was
those
super
screens
warm.
work awesome.
That was the best.
I was warm too. It was 28 degrees outside, and I was in a few blankets, and I was actually warm. Like it was.
Yeah,
cool.
I got the I don't have the 0 degree. I think I got like the 10, the 10 degree sleeping bag. Dude, I got in that there. The first night at my buddy's house, I slept with like my hoodie on. About 4 o'clock in the morning, I took my hoodie off, and I'm like, "Man, this is ridiculous." And then I slept for like another 2 hours. So like the next night, whenever I stayed up there, it was a little bit colder, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to go T-shirt if I have to.
Put it on.
The hoodie's right here. I'll put it on. But it was, I had no issues whatsoever. Like I said, the only downside was 5:30 in the morning, I was up. So like 5:30 at night, I was ready to crash, dude.
Yeah.
I called my wife and I'm talking to her and I'm like, I'm laying down. I can't talk any longer. I have to go to sleep because I've been up for 12 hours and this damn dog across the street is barking. I just want to crash out here. And I did. It was Super Bowl Sunday and I'm like, I'm asleep by 5:30.
Man.
Like everybody's messaging me like, "You watching the game?" I'm like, "No, dude, I'm sleeping." I'm racked out.
You're in like your peaceful little like cubby, and it's just like so nice. And you're just, even if you're freezing cold, you're still like, you have a smile on your face because we're idiots. Like we're idiots who love being miserable doing something that we love. And but it's so nice. Like it's so.
The first night when I stayed in my buddy's driveway, I have like the pad, and then I got like my air mattress underneath it. My air mattress slid, and I was just laying on the pad, and I was like, "Ooh, boy!" So I'm trying to do like the slide it over without getting out of the sleeping bag. I'm like, "How do you?"
You gotta get out of the sleeping bag.
Yeah, you have to. I tried to do the slide over without moving, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" But yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I wasn't miserable because, like you said, I was doing something that I chose to do.
Yeah.
So it was all me. Yeah, I chose it. But man, I was having a blast. Like I got up, and I had my little burner, make my coffee. I had my AeroPress, pounding coffee out. And I'm like, this is great. It doesn't get any better than this,
It doesn't. It really doesn't. I lived off of Dollar Tree meals and the cheapest Coleman propane stove I could find. And I had no mattress. I literally just slept in the back of the truck on the seats with like house blankets and a couple of sleeping bags. That was it. And my pillows. Like, I was like, I need to do it on a budget and I need to do it just with whatever I've got. And I was every time I would like wake up or do something, I would just be thinking in the back of my head, like, I am so happy, even though this is like not it. Like there's no system, there's no setup, it's just mayhem. But I was so happy. Like even when I was freezing cold, I'd be like, I'll just turn the heat on for a little bit, warm up, or like, oh, I gotta fix this, it's fine. Like once you get comfortable, because like at first you have the nerves of like people are gonna be looking at me and I don't want to have a confrontation or whatever. Once you get through that, it's usually like the first 2 days or day, you're sailing. Like you're just.
See, that was my game plan. I wasn't sure what my game plan was going to be because I had no idea where I was going. So I'm like, okay, I'll look for a campground. And I found a few campgrounds up that way. And I'm like, okay, I'll just stop in or I'll call and I'll see. And I'm like, nah, I really don't feel like, I don't really want to do that. So I was like, I'll just stay in a Walmart. That'll be fine. Like And I'm like, I really don't know if I'm not even familiar with this area, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to stay in Walmart. And then luckily, like I say, just bullshitting to this guy at the bar, at the brewery.
Yeah.
And he would like hook me up with this parking lot. And I'm like, he's like, my brother don't care as long as you don't leave any trash. And I'm like, dude, what?
It's
I'm,
also,
Yeah.
it's
I'm,
really
not, I'm not doing
beautiful
anything.
Right. It's really beautiful and awesome to see also how good people are too. As in like how willing they are to help you out or just whatever. It's like you would never expect, and then boom, like you're set up. It's like the little things, man. Yeah.
That's my buddy was like, you know, you can come back and stay in my driveway. And I'm like, dude, it's
Yeah.
2 hours back to your place.
Oh God, no.
And then I got to drive 2 hours back up here tomorrow just to, you know, because I wanted to do stuff up there and check the area out and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I'm not driving 2 hours to your place to crash, to drive 2 hours back to look at this area. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it, you know?
Nah. Yeah.
So I got to figure that part out.
Oh, I thought it was going to pop over you. Apparently, it goes over me.
Yeah,
I
we're
see
talking
it.
about
I
you.
can see it for this first saltwater trip. Oh boy. Is that for me?
That's for you.
So last year we went on me and my wife, we went on my like first surf fishing trip since I was probably 10. And we were catching fluke and little croakers. She calls them farty fish because she thinks it's when she was little. She said it sounds like they're farting. So probably fluke and croakers, but the striper are going to be coming in soon and moving their way through. So it's going to be I'm going to have setups for both, but fluke or flounder. They call them fluke. Okay, I'm from South Jersey. We call them flounder. My wife's from North Jersey. Call them fluke. Just like what?
I wouldn't know the difference between them, so it wouldn't matter to me. But
Flounder.
So the
Hell
video
with
that I watched that you just put up a few days ago was a surf fishing video.
that was that
Yes,
video.
and you caught that flounder. And I will say this much. It popped up when I was looking at things.
Oh boy.
I was the first viewer.
You were?
Yes, and
He told me that, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, hey, we're having this girl on. And he's like, actually, I just watched her video. It's the
Happy
first
to
view.
have you. Welcome.
That's so funny.
I didn't
So-
think that I had content for that. Like, I know that I had the GoPro on me, but I didn't think that I really had enough for the video. And then when I watched it back, I was like, oh, I can put something together. Like, it's not terrible. So I did. So
So where were you at when you shot that video?
we, I want to say Sandy Hook. No, that's wrong. That's a really great question. If you take the highway and you drive about an hour from us down, I don't really know. To be honest, I don't know. I could ask my wife right now and I could get that answer for you.
So you were like in
yeah.
like
New
Texas?
Jersey,
New
New
Jersey.
York
Oh,
area.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I thought you were down south. Okay.
Oh no, sorry, no. So I
No,
live
no.
in North Jersey right now. My parents are in South Jersey, so
Mhm.
that's kind of border. So like this year, I'm definitely going to be doing more trips up north to the beach, and then also going down towards like Wildwood, Cape May, which is like the very end
okay.
of New Jersey.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm excited. So excited.
Can't
yeah.
even tell.
Yeah, no, you couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell. Yeah, I mean, did you hear me? So if you watched the video, did you hear me laughing for like 5 minutes for no reason after I caught the flounder? And I'm like, I have to keep it in, like it's authentic, and I was like so pumped.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I had another one get off, which I don't think I had that on footage, and then we had this guy come. We were talking to him, and yeah, my wife was a little upset because I outfished her a little bit, and I was not trying to. I wasn't, because it's like, again, that's her wheelhouse.
Sure.
I was just I was genuinely just trying to be the student, but because I can't sit still, I had to get out and I had to do some surf, like some casting on the surf. And then boom, I caught my flounder, and I was like, sweet. And we made some really delicious, it's not papaya. Yep. We made a really delicious dinner with that flounder. Forget what it's called. I'll remember in a minute, but it was.
I
Really
know
good.
what you mean. I can't think of what it's called.
It's
though.
with the corn and the.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Every time.
She's currently Googling it. You watch.
I am.
There she goes. She's off. If you make it to PJ's neck of the woods, you guys should do a little like video. PJ
Will.
goes out in his Jeep. You go out in the bus. So she's got like a. Is that what's the length of the bus that you? I forget what you
I
told
have
me
a
this.
5-window schoolie, and the inside dimensions are like 7 by 13 or so, and then you have
Yeah.
from the seat forward. So.
So she basically is modifying a short bus into a camper, like
Yeah.
complete
So
with
you can
wood
park
stove.
my Jeep in her bus,
Yeah.
irregardless.
Yes.
You could
So,
well
yeah.
if you build some ramps, I think it'd be cooler for you to park on her roof.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
And then send a picture to Jeep, and then she could probably get a Jeep sponsorship out of the deal. Like, look at what's on my roof.
Nothing would look more redneck than a
I love
Jeep
it.
with
On
35s
the roof of a
on the
painted
roof of
school
a
bus.
schoolie.
That's true. It's called
Yep.
polenta. So we made polenta
Okay,
with salsa. So it was, and then the fish and cilantro. It was really nice. I say it wrong. I say papaya every single time, and I
Yep.
know it's not that. It's not a fruit or whatever the hell.
No, that's
But
funny.
yeah, so I didn't want a full size school bus because I had just felt like that was too much for me. So I went with the shorter one, and I think it's like the perfect fit. I'm putting like a 4 or 5 foot like deck off the back. It's gonna have the e-bike, my generator, a bunch of jerry cans, the kayaks, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's super awesome.
I meant to ask you when we did. So, for those of you who don't know, I went on her podcast first,
We did.
and I think we're still talking since we started talking on that podcast. It was like 5 hours straight of just talking. I'm
we
sure
have
half
3
of it didn't
parts.
even end up. Yeah, I was
No,
gonna
it
say
all
like
ended up. Are you kidding me?
That's
That's all
funny.
good content. I'm using all of it.
we didn't even like introduce, like we literally jumped in and this was like, hey, what's up? Let's talk. And then it was like she called me on the phone and we just talked for 5 hours. It was the most like informal podcast ever. But
That's fine,
More
'cause
than
it's
ours?
natural. Yeah, that's
More
why I fit
informal
in so
than
well.
ours?
my wife was concerned until I explained that she also has a wife, so it was okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
I also
It's like,
have
yeah,
a wife.
she's not interested in that. She's
No, I'm happily
she's
married.
also married to a woman, so it's okay.
She would kick your ass.
But
not
no,
my wife.
did you? I was gonna ask. Like, I know you said you had planned on doing, and I don't know if this has come out yet. So people that want to listen to her podcast, just plug your earmuffs.
Yeah.
But
Blah.
did you have like a schedule that you're planning on trying to do for your travel, or is it kind of be fly by night? Just like I didn't know if you're like I'm gonna be in Vermont this month and
Right.
Maine this month, or if you're just like kind of like fuck it, let's go to Pennsylvania today.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a cabin in Pennsylvania, so I'll be up there all the time.
Really?
But
Where's your cabin in Pennsylvania? Because I have one there.
Our family has a 10 acres in Halstead, Pennsylvania, which is like right near the Susquehanna. It's near Binghamton. Yeah, and it almost is very close to the border of like New York and
Okay.
PA. So it's 3 hours from the South Jersey house. And yeah, that's where I said I grew up like splitting time. Like we would camp in my grandfather's camper, like 8 of us. And then you'd have like all the brothers in their tents outside, but we got the camper because we were younger. So
Nice.
but yeah, it's still in the works to figure out what the game plan is. So my wife and I are trying to figure out if we want to get a house because it's the mortgage or the payments is the same as this apartment, and we don't really have a lot of space here.
Yep.
I can't park the bus anywhere here because I'm in Newark. Like I'm in the middle of it's too crowded. It's too sketchy. It's just we don't have that space.
You got too many Jets fans around. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, fuck that shit. And the plan is to have this thing registered up and ready for May. There's like we go to May every year we go to Champlain for a week. That's going to be about the 3rd week of May. So either I'm leaving before then or I'm going to that trip and then I'm going to linger in Vermont for a little bit, hang out with you, do some cool stuff, do some exploring on my own. Come back home. I have a family cruise. Also, I'm not made of money, but I have a family cruise in June. And then after that, it's kind of like I want to figure out what I want to do. I'm also turning 30 in August, so I don't know if I want to do like a fish of a lifetime type trip and like go somewhere to target something. Like, you know what I mean? Like have a trip that's specifically kind of like to celebrate my birthday. You have the tournament on the Susky in August too, so like we have a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
I haven't quite honestly figured that part out. I thought I had a basic plan because it was just to do like the whole U.S. just like zigzag. But if we are getting a house, I think it's going to be more like dedicate a couple weeks to traveling, making that content, coming home for a little bit, being at home base, seeing the wife, like doing that stuff, doing some adventures here because I've got stuff all around here, and then hitting the road again. I also have to figure out funds. Like I have some money from our wedding, I get that, but also like I have to pay some bills and got some other stuff to work out. But
Yep.
I think I'm gonna be traveling mostly, and then come home, and then she'll see me, and then I'll be traveling more, and she'll be coming
Yep.
with me sometimes.
And
But
to be fair, like New England in general, you could get
ooh,
away with like
yeah,
Pennsylvania, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, like those alone. If you wanted to stay local and go for a
yeah,
few weeks and come back, there's
hmm
thousands of I mean, Vermont alone, there's like
I know.
all kinds of crap, especially with because her channel. For those of you who didn't catch that part, is her channel isn't just fishing. It's like bushcraft. It's camping. It's fishing. It's
Survival, yeah,
starting fires in the woods for no reason,
yeah,
and
for no reason.
yeah,
Yeah.
killing small furry creatures and skinning them and eating them, whatever she wants to
I have
do.
not done that on my channel yet, and I would not do that without actually like harvesting it and eating it. That is not responsible at all, sir. Don't you dare spit on my good name.
Hey, these are fishermen. They're like, hey, she kills squirrels. Okay, I'll watch.
Yeah, she's got a 22 shotgun and a blah
Yep.
blah blah, and she's out there killing and eating what she's got.
Yeah.
But yes, I want to do all of that. Yeah. So, and that's the other thing is figuring out what content I'm doing, or like when I
Right.
go on a trip. Okay, what kind of content can I do in this area to also maximize content and also have fun experiences and collaborate
Yep.
with people. That's the other thing. I want to collaborate with people, so that's going to be a whole scheduling thing in itself of being like, okay, reach out to
Yeah.
these people. What time frame do you have? Can I make that happen? All right, let's do it. And is it worth it? Like as much as I want to go fishing with you tomorrow, I can't make that
I
drive.
tried to get her to go
I
with me,
know,
PJ.
you re- and
I
dude,
asked her so many times.
If you were like closer and I had the money, I don't right now, so I have to go to work. But that's
I was like, I literally asked her like before she even like I was on her podcast. I was like, you should come fishing Monday, and then she's like, maybe, I don't know. And then I'm like,
I
hey, you
said
going
yes.
fishing Monday? And then I'm like, I'm going fishing Monday. Let's go fishing Monday. You want to go fishing Monday?
I said yes immediately, and I was like,
Yep.
life, like fuck me, you know what I mean? Like I want to be irresponsible and just go. But like I said, I
Right.
got to get the funds and everything right to be able to do that. Because like going to the expo and doing that stuff, I told you I was doing that on the smallest budget that I possibly could because
Yep.
I don't have the money to just be throwing around. And I still spent a good amount of money on stuff, but like that was
Yep.
an amazing experience. I want to do more of that, but you have to make the money to do it. So, and I'm fortunate. I don't have kids. I don't have, well, might have a house, but still it wouldn't be crazy. Like I don't have things that completely hold me down. So I can be more malleable and modular and like hit the road and do the thing. Still got to
How
finish
far
the
is the how far is Mohegan from you?
I don't know. What the hell is Mohegan?
It's a casino in Connecticut.
Ew. Sorry, I don't gamble.
No, the reason why I'm asking is because the next trade show that Abe's at is at the Mohegan.
Mohegan, that says Pennsylvania. You said Connecticut.
Mhm.
Connecticut. How do you spell that?
I think
Just kidding.
I think it's called the Mohegan Fishing Expo or Mohegan
Oh, you're such a.
Outdoor
Now
Show.
you're just giving me all this Is this how he is? PJ, he just
All
throws
the
shit out.
time.
Oh my god.
You
All
haven't
the time,
seen
man.
nothing.
Yeah.
You realize that like the fishing trip tomorrow, I literally messaged Bear like 3 days ago and I said, here's the deal. Even if there's no ice, we're going to meet up. We're going to do a podcast. We're going to record B-roll. We're going to make weird demo videos. I'm like, if we have to go to Dick's Sporting Goods and walk around and just record baits and just throw them at
Yep.
each other, we're making content.
People
Like
love
that's
that.
just how my brain works. Like I'm like, we'll get in the parking lot of Dick's and just like sword fight with
Send it.
fishing poles. Like I don't care. Like we'll make
Ousting
something.
with fishing poles and chopping carts and a pool
Yeah.
noodle over your head.
I was gonna. The reason why I
That
asked is
sounds
because
like
if
fun right there.
see,
It does sound like okay.
That
Let's
sounds
do it. What Walmart can we meet up in to do it?
yeah,
It's a 2-hour and 45-minute drive.
okay, so it's a little rough then.
It's
It's on a
yeah,
weekend.
it's on a week. Dude, I picked my schedule, so that's not necessarily the problem.
Okay.
But the other problem is, so I'm dog sitting next today. Oh my god, what day is today?
I think this
Monday.
is in March, so
On Friday, I'm dog sitting. On Saturday, I'm going to Lancaster. I will be with my mom and a bunch of our friends for a whole week doing scrapbooking stuff. Yes, I love the outdoors, but I also love crafts and DIY stuff. So I'm actually going to be making a bunch of decals for like my kayak, the bus,
Nice.
a bunch of stuff. I'm going to be doing a lot of editing. So I'll be away for that week, and then I gotta figure out how to like get a shift in there. But so I'm kind of crazy booked. I honestly forgot that I had that trip. I know my mom's not watching this right now, but I kind of forgot until they were like, "Hey, send us the money," and I was like,
If you know her mom, tag her mom in this video. Just
my mom wouldn't even know how to. My mom wouldn't even know how to do.
Nobody's mother watches this podcast.
No.
Yeah, let's just throw that out there.
My mom doesn't even watch this podcast. So.
It's supposed to be because I was talking to Mike about this. Like, my mom is not the outdoorsy person like my dad is, but my mom tries. So she goes to Vermont with us. She'll outfish us, not knowing what the fuck she's doing. But she's like the sweetest human. And I told her, like, this year I'm focusing on YouTube and I'm focusing on my podcast. I'm working part-time and I'm going to grind. Like, I'm really going to try to do this. And she was like, do you need me to listen to your podcast? Like, do you need people to listen to? I was like, Mom, you will not like the type
you're not
of stuff that I'm
it.
talking about. She's like, but you should start telling people to listen. And I'm like, okay. But I don't think our family demographic is really what we're going for there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't let your wife or your mom listen to our episodes until after we hang out in May, because then they'll be like, yeah, don't fucking hang out with that redneck from Vermont. That's not a good idea.
My wife is a firefighter.
Fair enough. Fair
nothing
enough.
on her, man. She's hardcore. But also, she can put on a dress, makeup, and heels, and you'd never fucking know how badass she is. I have the best of both worlds. I have the best of both worlds. She's incredible. What's this? What does this comment say? Read it.
Another question for you.
Woohoo!
Have you ever fished for tog? Apparently, that's popular with fishermen in New Jersey. I'm summarizing it.
My dad has. I have not, or at least I might have been very young. Because it's familiar to me. So, like, some of the first memories I have of fishing is going out on my uncle's saltwater boat with my life jacket that was bigger than me, being handed a rod and like taking a few cranks and then giving it back to my dad because like I couldn't even stand over the ledge of the boat.
That's funny.
Catching flounders and stuff. But yeah, I might have. That's a question for my dad. I think I have at some point when I was young enough to not really remember. But
it's funny because I see all these people that like catch all these like saltwater fish and they're like, oh, that's a red-breasted purple snapper, and I'm like, how the fuck do you know? Like, they just rattle off like these weird names, and it's like he'll catch like 3. Like Bear did it, and when he went to Cuba, he caught like 3 fish in a row, and he was like, this one's that, and I'm like, how do you? That looks exactly the same as the fish you just caught that you said was like something entirely different.
Mike, you know the difference between a largemouth and a smallmouth, right?
Yeah, because one's brown and one's green.
You know the difference between a muskie, a pike, and a pickerel, right?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
so
shut the fuck up.
no, real, for real.
Come on, dude. Come on.
I've never
these people.
I've never seen a muskie because they don't have them here. We don't have muskie
but
here.
You know what a Okay.
I know what a muskie looks like, but a pickerel and a pike, I had no idea they were different species. Seriously, until I started doing the Jigs and Bigs multi-species tournament, I submitted a pickerel as a northern, and Sean gave me shit about it. Not only did he DQ the fish, but then he literally texted me and like, dude, that's a pike. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know there was a fucking difference.
Okay,
I just thought a pickerel was a small pike.
Okay, but you know the difference between a largemouth and a smallmouth. This is where some people wouldn't even... Okay, some people wouldn't know the fucking difference.
True, fair enough, but...
Fish, so they know the different species. Come on, I know
a
yellow perch from a crappie, to a white perch, to a bass, to a catfish, to a... Come on.
See, I caught a fucking white perch and I thought it was a crappie. I don't know shit about fish species. Like, I know yellow perch. That's the one I know. And largemouth and smallmouth are
biologists on a couple of weeks from now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the reason for this.
Gonna ask him a bunch of these questions.
That's why they make fishing charts for people like you, Big Mike.
Exactly. I caught a fucking brown and I called it a rainbow at first.
Oh, you're an idiot.
No, you did not.
I did. That brown, not today. The brown I caught last year on Lake Dunmore. I literally pulled it out of the water and I'm like, look, it's a rainbow. And I'm like, no, that's not a rainbow. Never mind. Like, I had no idea.
In my head, Janelle, is because I am a trout fisherman. That's what I target 90% of the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's all I go for.
Yeah. Now, where are you from, PJ?
I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And we moved to Ohio, so I kind of call Ohio home. Hence the reason why I got the Ohio
Yeah, I
State
see
shirt
it.
on, the Ohio
Yeah.
State stuff
I
behind
do like
me.
Ohio State. They're cool.
Yeah, and we lived there for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
I currently live in Indiana right now, but we're trying to get back home, the Pennsylvania, Ohio area. And for 4 years, we lived in Alabama.
Is that where
So-
the Southern twang come from?
No, the Southern twang comes from Pennsylvania.
Does it come from Pennsylvania?
Western.
You part of that
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of Pennsylvania. You got the twang. I got you.
Yeah,
I
and
got
then
you.
everybody looks at me. They're like, "What part of West Virginia are you from?" And I'm like,
I'm not.
"Never lived there." You know, but we're so close to West
I-
Virginia. And
yeah,
if you look at a map,
Mhm.
Pittsburgh is right there. You know, so
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where you're at.
yeah.
yeah,
So
that's
I'm Pittsburgh.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah.
We,
I need to.
we don't like the out east. You can split Pennsylvania in half. It's like
Oh, you could.
Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're either a Steelers fan or somebody else.
My brother's a Steelers fan, but he's a traitor. It's fine.
Yeah, see, I love him already. I don't even know him.
I don't know when the last time he went fishing was. Well, actually, he goes with his daughter sometimes, and he uses their little push button pole. to
Hey.
catch fish. My nieces are adorable, but you know they
The
don't. they're
Zebco
too young.
404s catch bass just as easily as a Shimano Corrado.
Those-
I'm just saying.
Those
Like,
frozen push buttons can hold their own. Okay.
I will tell you though, don't put braid in them.
Oh, never.
I tried it. It's not a good idea. I wanted to do it just for the fun of it, just to see what would happen.
I want to.
And let me tell you, as soon as you reel it one revolution, it cuts that fucking braid straight
Yeah.
off.
I want to get like the $80 whatever it is, the bullet, the push button, and put that on a casting rod and like do a whole video on that. One day when I have the budget for it. Right now I gotta buy saltwater gear.
Yeah.
And apparently I need trout stuff too because I'm getting together with PJ and we're gonna.
There you
trout.
go. I mean,
Ready?
you don't even have to buy anything. I got
that's no
backups, and my backups have backups. You know
Me
what I'm saying?
too.
Like I got backups to backups and backups.
And multiple kayaks, so you're good.
Yeah, I
Cheers.
got multiple kayaks. I got multiple fly fishing rods, multiple spinning rods,
Oh,
multiple
you can teach me how
casting
to fly
rods.
fish.
Yes, I mean
That's what I'm
that's
saying. That's what I'm here
that's what I
for,
do
just
when I
make
go to
connections.
Pennsylvania. You know, what I
Yeah,
mean that's
fly fish.
the whole reason for going to my cabin, is to go to my cabin, unwind, not be that me. I can be a different me, and
100%.
in that world,
Oh.
that's my world.
Yeah, the outfits that I wore as a kid when we were at the cabin, and we still like looked better than the people that like when we would go to town. We still were like, "Oh, this isn't even bad." Like,
Yeah.
but it was great. Had a knife strapped here, like belt that was loose, and camo pants, and like a pink shirt or whatever the hell. And
Well, that's how I look today, ice fishing. So,
Well, I mean, I think that's your brand.
and it kind of is. If you could see, like, it's funny. I actually am gonna do it this year. Is I'm gonna take a picture. So when me and Bear are in the bass boat doing like a collaboration, it looks fucking ridiculous because you've got him in the back of the boat and me in the front of the boat, and then you've got this weird duct tape apparatus between us holding 3 fucking cameras, run to battery banks, and like there's just wires and cables everywhere, and there's duct tape and zip ties and like.
Do I need to like build you like a custom thing so that you have like a nice actual?
Oh, it's cleaner now.
I don't care.
But it
Doesn't
was
sound good. Just-
it was awful. I actually duct taped his. I didn't even duct tape. I gorilla taped his tripod to the boat so it wouldn't keep tipping over when I did a hook set, and like
Yeah.
because 340 pounds of hook set, it shakes the boat a little bit in that little bass tracker.
Oh, my poor
But-
dad! I'd be standing on the back of the boat and I'd switch sides and I would just see him in the front, just lose lose everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny because you think like you have this weird delusion that like a bass boat is stable. It's
Yeah.
not.
No,
It's really not. Like when you walk from side to side in a bass boat, I think, to be honest, in some situations my bass boat's less stable than my fucking kayak.
I was
Like,
just gonna say that.
We've had this discussion. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel safer in my kayak
Yeah.
than I do fishing with any of my buddies in their boat.
Yeah.
I'm paranoid as hell. I don't know what it is. I don't
Yeah.
like it.
What's my go-to
There you go.
bass?
SB. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Okay. So if I'm okay, here we go. I'll break it down. If I'm fishing in
She's like, what's the barometric pressure and what longitude, latitude am I in?
It just depends on where I am. I became a chatterbait enthusiast about 3 years ago. So a chatterbait is a good go-to because where I live, it's very sloppy and gross. So I run like the Mini Max chatterbait, and it runs pretty shallow, so like it doesn't get caught in the weeds too much, and I can fish it pretty nice. If I am going, if I'm going somewhere where there's more rocks and stuff, I love a Ned rig or a crawl. Yeah, or a frog. Like let's be honest, we all have a frog tied on. If we're going largemouth fishing, doesn't matter the time of year. So
what do you use for a trailer on that Mini Max, or do you use a trailer?
On that Mini Max, I do the Z-Man elastic, probably like 4-inch swim baits.
Okay.
And I like to super glue them to basically in the early spring, I'll throw one on there, and I probably don't change it for about a month because it has that elasticity, and it'll last me pretty much the whole, like one bag will last me like the whole season.
Like the little ones, like the TRD swims or whatever the hell they're called?
The step up from the TRD swim. So the 4 or 5-inch, I'll look up the name of them. But yeah,
I've struggled to catch anything on those, and I bought them because smallmouth. Like I thought, like small chatterbait, smallmouth are gonna love this thing, and I can't figure out how to catch on them.
Soraya has her personal best 5.2 largemouth on a white and chartreuse, and I have a couple 4s, close to 5s on that Mini Max. In Vermont, black and blue, actually. That was the year that
black and blue is, yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I casted, the water level was pretty high. We were in Carey's Bay. So it's got all of that grass, and then there's like a line of trees, and the water was so high up that like we could fish in those trees. So I casted as far in as I could, and I'm reeling it in, and I saw a bunch of bait fish jump, and I like paused for a second, and then this big like 4.6 largemouth just came and destroyed it. Took the rod out of my hand. Like I don't have that video up, but when you see the hook set, I'm like, because I wasn't expecting like that big of a bite. And whichever way I set the hook, I think she went the opposite way because it looked funny as hell.
I've had a bunch of like hits like that. So chatterbait. Now I think about it, chatterbait. I get a lot of pike that will like torpedo under my kayak, like at the last minute. So like you're getting it close to the boat, you can see it coming in, and you're just kind of watching it, but you kind of like give up. Like you're getting to the point where you're like, okay, I'm gonna stop reeling and just pop this out of the water and cast it again. And then all of a sudden, freaking slime dart just goes, and like you just like. All of a sudden, you're like, holy shit! Like, you're just, like, doing, like, you're more jumping from the fear of what just swam under my boat instead of, like, actually doing the hook set. There's so many videos where you just, like, hear silence because, in reality, I'm, like, screaming obscenities because I didn't know what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
I've had pike come out of the water for, like, literally, like, clear, like, Shamu to try to get the chatterbait. It's a crazy bait for those.
I'm so ready for pike. So I use the Z-Man Diesel.
Okay. Yep.
Looks like that guy.
Yep.
And like I said, so I'm fishing, and I mean I like to fish up shallow. I like to fish structure, grass, and all that. So I don't want the heavier ones that are going to sink down and get caught and everything. And that elastic, I mean, it lasts longer, but it also gives it some buoyancy as well.
Yep.
And then I like to use like Reaction Tackle has a nice soft plastic swim bait, like if I want to use that. But ever since I found the Z-Man, and again, Z-Man has its pros and its cons. But it'll last me like a whole couple trips at least once, as long as like
it's funny because I have never caught a fish on a Z-Man TRD. Like,
not doing good.
The thing is, I can throw on a Helamite. I can throw on I make these little newts that I pour myself. Throw those on a Ned. I'll catch fish all the time. Yeah, I'll have to give you some money.
A newt.
So actually, let me look and see if I have them.
What about you?
They're pretty cool.
What are your go-tos?
I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. I am going to start out. I'm going to throw Gene LaRue Bifflebug Texas rig.
Ayo.
Okay. 90% of the time. And I'm like you. If not, I'm going to go to a chatterbait or a spinnerbait, and then I'll throw a frog.
I was
But
going to say
90,
spinnerbait too. Spinnerbait and chatterbait. They probably, if I'm throwing one or the other, they're both probably tied on, just depending on what vibration or color or thump they want in the water. But yeah.
I'll take 5 rods with me, and I'm going to have spinnerbait, chatterbait, frog right there.
Boom.
Texas rig. I have to have my Texas rig, and then on the 5th rod, I will probably have just my crankbait in a 3.5 shad color, and those are I take an entire crate, and I throw the same 5 lures every single, because those are my most comfortable. I have confidence in those baits, and I catch fish 99.9% of the time. Pennsylvania, Ohio. I fish Lake Erie all the time, and those are my go-to baits all the time, especially the lakes around the area in Ohio. So
yeah, that's the problem with me. Like in South Jersey in the early spring, it's nice because all that green slop and all that grass hasn't really bloomed yet. So you can get away with fishing a few different ways, but I can't do any flipping once it's the summertime. It's like green snot, just like that much of it on your line. But when I'm in like Vermont or Champlain, when you've got some clearer waters and you've got, wood or structure, I'm flipping. I like a lizard. I like a creature bait. The Guggen bandito bug. I have to see those. Ooh, that. Oh yeah. I know what that is. Yeah, that's nice. Can't hear you at all, my guy. Can't hear you at all.
Got on mute myself. So it's basically a brush hog with like a ribbon tail.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I throw those on a Ned rig.
Yeah.
I'll make you some of those.
We were just talking about like if you had like 5 rods. PJ was breaking down what he's got on his rods.
Yeah.
So what about you, Mike? What do you have? If you have 5 rods, you're going fishing for largemouth.
What's the barometric pressure? What's the current weather condition?
And where's the moon phases coming in? And
tell me what the F you're putting on your rod.
Am I fishing a highland or lowland reservoir?
I do love a crankbait. Crankbaits have become also another big one for me. I'm not a jerkbait kind of girl, but I do love a crankbait and like that. I like a 1.5 to a 2. It's just like sometimes I don't really like to go big, but.
I'm trying to think 5. So I'm gonna have a Ned rig on, which is new. Last year I did not fish a Ned rig till about halfway through the year, but I've kind of fell in love with that. I will have usually probably an Arky style jig on. Okay. Or what I'll do is I'll take a flipping jig, because a flipping jig is a swim jig. People don't realize that. Yeah. But if you look at a swim jig head and a flipping jig head, it's the same freaking thing. It's just a little bit lighter for a swim jig. Yeah. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll throw a swim bait on a flipping jig, and then I can use it I can flip it into cover, but then I can also just reel it back as a swim bait at the same time, so it gives me both.
It's a twofer.
It's a cheat code, because in the kayak you don't have a ton of room, so you have to be able to be versatile.
Right.
I always have, and anybody who's watching, and anybody who's seen my videos, the Kitech Easy Shiner, belly weighted hook. I use those owner twist lock hooks with like the belly weight on it. And and like you said, you fish in the slop with like the slime. Like the good thing about that setup is it's low profile. I use like the 3.8 Kitechs, or I pour my own now, but the Slick Shiner, which is its Easy Shiner. But basically I make those baits weedless so that they have just a little bit of a weight underneath, so that kind of gives them that panfish profile with the way the hook kind of bends around. And you can drag them through all that bullshit and not have to worry about, them getting hung up. And then the other bait, it varies. So it's going to be, chatterbait used to be it. It's really weird for me, and I think, like, the biggest thing about it that's funky for me is that every year a bait gets phased out of my arsenal, and then I have to bring it back, or like... So, like, last year, 2022, I can't keep saying last year because that was 23, but 2022, I caught, I would say 60% of my fish on chatterbait. And that was everything. Pike, I caught freaking perch, bluegill, everything on chatterbait.
I think I caught 90% of my fish on a chatterbait.
Last year, I could not get the chatterbait to go. Couldn't do it. I could not catch a fish on chatterbait. But swim jig was the replacement for that, which isn't in the same category, But it is because it's
It
still
doesn't
that
have a blade on
profile.
it. It's the same.
It's
There's no vibration or flag.
it's a swim bait with a secondary action, so it's the same kind of idea. I think honestly this year, and I don't know why this year is going to be crankbait.
Okay.
I have no idea why. I just have it in my head that that's going to be it. And I haven't caught fish on crankbaits in 2 years. I'm going to be wrong. It's going to be like, it's going to be fucking Wacky Rig or Texas Rig or some stupid, or it's going to be like Carolina Rig, but.
Yeah.
Which again, I can't really fish it.
Right. I also like a Nico rig, so I like to put a little weight, okay, so I was telling Mike, I don't like not being able to feel my bait. So anything like weedless drives me absolutely bonkers. So there's like 1 or 2 times that I'll throw like a weightless wacky worm, or I'll throw the Nico, which I know that it has a little bit of weight, so I like to work it around trees and stuff. But yeah, I can't. So that's another thing. Like I can't. I love a Ned rig or a little crawl on the bottom, like something like a bottom bait, even like popping a small minnow or swim bait on the bottom. What does that say?
No love for the buzz.
I have never caught a fish on a buzz bait.
I haven't either.
I've never caught a fish on a buzz bait. I've been a spinning combo kind of girl like my whole life. Last year I used the bait caster. This year I'll have 2 bait casters in the boat. But no. I actually would rather throw the Whopper Plopper like a little El Chapo because I know that's going to float. So like I can pop it, I can, and then it'll float and stay up in that strike zone. So
you know what's funny about a buzzbait is probably my 3rd most popular video on this channel is me putting a Berkeley gilly on a buzzbait.
Good for
and
you.
I don't, and that's the only time I fished it that whole year.
I have one one that I probably took from like my brother's tackle box when we were kids. I have never thrown it.
I would tell you that does work.
Or a frog, sorry.
It works on like a spinner bait too, is if you nose hook like a Berkeley gilly because it gives it that like swim bait profile. But the problem with a buzz bait is me and you have the same problems. Is by the time topwater is efficient, like by the time that is the deal, is when that grass where we are is all topped out. And it's not just that, it's also milfoil, but it's also dead milfoil. So then you get those like clumps of floating, you get these floating islands of, and I'm sure down by you it's probably not only milfoil but dead bodies and human hair and everything else because you're in Jersey, but
you are one son of a bitch.
Wow.
Just saying. I say the same thing to Bear. I'm like, you're fishing in your finless brown ponds trying to catch
me for maybe 3 weeks, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm just like that. I'm just out there. I mean, come on. Think about how we met. Like, literally, the first conversation I had with her was she was filming at the eBay booth. She grabbed her camera, she's walking around, panning around the baits, and I leaned over and I said, hey, I've got a bunch of this footage. If you want, give me your email and I'll send you the footage.
As he's walking away.
And I'm first fucking thing I said to her.
Who was that guy?
Yeah, and then I literally went around the corner to the fresh baits booth, and she's like, who the fuck was that?
And Bobby wasn't even paying attention.
No, and Bobby was useless because Bobby wasn't like, oh, that's just fucking Binya, don't worry about him. Like, he's just like, talking to Abe, talking to Chris.
Yeah. So what I'll use also to replicate a buzz bait is I love either a horny toad or Z-Man makes like a floating frog, which is really great, like the scum frog, because I've got some snakehead too. And like I said, I've got that thicker vegetation. So I'll either burn that on top, give it a pause sometimes, like in the pockets, try to give that fish a minute to react. So yeah, between, like I said, a Whopper Plopper or the frog, I've never had a need for a buzz bait, and it's just there's too much vegetation for me to fish a buzz bait. So.
You know, it's a cheat code stuff for fish. The horny toad, absolutely. That's probably my number one go-to top water when it comes to heavy vegetation.
Yep.
But another little trick is if you take a wacky
crawl?
rig or a craw, and you can do the same thing.
Burn it.
But then what you do is you drop it off the front. So you cast it on top of the mat as far back as you can get, and you burn it across the top of the mat. And then when you find a hole, stop and let it fall. Because the fish will follow all that weird bouncing and activity, and then when it comes down in front of them, they'll just smash that thing. I've done it so many times.
Okay, I just wanted to see if it worked for you or you.
So I do it on a lake by me. There's a bay that I have that has, like, it's the whole right side of this bay becomes a lily pad field.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like so
seeds,
thick.
right? Yep.
It's so thick you can't even see the water. Like, you don't even, like, if you actually went into this and didn't know where you were, you would think that the
Lost.
water was just the middle of the channel and the edges were a field.
Yeah.
Like, that's how thick it is. But then there's these little holes, just like there always is in the pads. And if you take, like, even a horny toad, if you get it over top of it and then you reel it fast and then you stop and reel it slow across, it'll get smashed every time.
Yeah, it depends.
But if you drop it down in it, like, they'll just kill it.
One year, my brother, because he was fishing on the fishing team for his college, it was like the white frog, the horny toad, or the zoom frog, like just burning it as fast as you possibly could. And you're talking about 4 or 5 pounders, inhaling it.
Yep.
So it's either you're burning it or, like you said, giving it that pause in that pocket to let that fish hit it, or like letting it drop down. You got to kind of figure out what kind of mood the fish is in. And that's the beauty of fishing, right?
The worst part about the toads, though, is the hookup ratio is fucking awful.
Yep.
It's awful. It's the most aggravating. You don't know how many. I've actually got a video on my channel. I made it into a short, too, where, no joke, I set the hook so hard that the fucking horny toad hit the rods behind me.
Oh, yeah, it didn't hit you in the face?
It literally went right. I actually used, like, the Mario, like, here we go sound as it, like, went by my face. Like, you actually can listen. If you listen to the video, my wife, I was sitting in the living room editing this video, and I had to slow it down to see it. Because you couldn't see it unless you slowed it down. But what you heard was, because the fucking hit the rod behind me, and it, like, vibrated in my rod holder.
Oh, I've taken out many a people in my dad's boat from hook sets and missing fish. My cousin, and I'm gonna have him on my show because I was telling him about all this, and he was like, "I want to be on the show." I'm like, "Okay," but he never, like, he doesn't have a heavy rod. Like, he does not have a topwater frogging rod. He loves the topwater fish. He'll make his own poppers, and he does really great with them. But I'm like, and then he'll watch me, like, he's afraid of me when I'm frog fishing. Or just topwater in general. He's afraid of my hook set because I am, like, giving him hell. And, like, the lure will come back if it's not in the roof of a fish's mouth. And he's just like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I've learned too many times, like, not having the right gear or not giving him hell. You're going to miss that fish of a lifetime. I'm not about that. I'm not about that.
The lake I was ice fishing on today, when I was fishing with Bear, actually. So it was actually really funny is I was picking on him because he set the hook so hard with a Ned rig that he almost gave himself a Prince Albert with that Ned rig. Like, it came up and smoked him. So I'm giving him shit about that. And the next cast, I did a hook set with a football jig. And you watch me go like this, and then you just see me go, and it went right by my ear. And he was like, did that almost hit you? And I'm like, dude, I've done this. And, like, it was funny because it was just one of those, like, I literally went, like, I just knew I needed to get my face out of the way because I was going to get smashed.
Have you ever done the ninja thing and just grab the lure? Like, I will, because I play sports, I will instinctively, like, grab it or, like, let it hit my hand before it hits my face.
I wish this was a brag, but I caught my own rod one day doing that. So I went backwards with a jig, came forward with a rod. I ripped the rod out of the fucking rod holder and threw it like a javelin. And had to, like, catch it by the butt of the rod to stop it from, like, just going. Like, it was so bad. And it was pure, like you said, it was a sport. I was a first baseman. You know, I have, like, pretty decent reaction time for being able to, like, just kind of slow my mind down and grab stuff. And and I didn't get it on camera, which sucked because it was like, I literally went, like, back and I stupidly hit the button on my freaking bait caster at the time. I didn't realize I'd hit it, and I went back, and then, like, when I went forward, it, like, clicked the bail, so then it just hooked into that rod, and it just sent it. And I just, like, out of the corner of my eye, I was like, oh, crap.
Dude, we need to do a podcast episode of just, like, all the what the fuck moments.
The blunders. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Yep. Yeah, no.
I've made so many shorts of, like, just, like, stupid shit that you do and you don't even think. Like, I was pulling, you know when you get, like, a bait in a tree, right? and
No,
you're
I've
trying
never
to
done
do
that.
this crap. So you're trying to, like, for some reason, everybody thinks that this is going to work.
Yeah, no.
Well, one day I did that, and then I learned, pull it back, grab the line, and pull the line straight back. I grabbed the tip of the fucking rod
Oh my god.
and pulled, and then it snapped in my hand, and I went. Like, I've done so many stupid things like that. I actually pedaled down through the blank of a rod one day that I just bought.
Dumbass.
Like, it was sitting on the side of my kayak, it slid underneath my pedal, and then I pedaled down through it. And
You were like, crunch. Oh, there goes $300.
Oh, I've shut them in tailgates. I have 5 over here that need tips. It's just...
I'm going to knock on wood. I have broken 1 rod tip.
I had a favorite rod, like
about
favorite the brand, that
Riley,
I literally cast it
Riley.
into half.
Sorry. Come here. I knocked on the table and my dog thought something
Oh,
was on the door. And
yep.
he immediately is
Yep.
like, who the fuck is coming into
Yep.
our house? No, but 1 rod tip. I almost lost the tip of my finger that day too. So that was fun. Yeah,
Yep.
I was snagged. So this was either my first or second trip to Vermont, so I was a teenager. My dad had given me this rod, and of course it has sentimental value because my dad gave it to me. So I'm using braid with tipped fluoro, and I'm snagged. I'm in the back of the boat. My brother's in the middle. My dad's up front. They don't know that I'm snagged, whatever. I'm trying to, like, get the line, and my dad starts moving the front of the boat, and the braid wrapped around my finger. And it started, like, pulling, and I screamed, and luckily I grabbed the line. Like, he stopped for a second. I grabbed the line, and I was able to get the snag out, but I had already, like, cut a good amount of my finger. But the rod tip broke also.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm crying my eyes out because I'm a sensitive soul. Because it's terrifying. Like, you're watching that line, like, slice. I still have the scar.
Braid can cut you
and I broke
bad.
the rod at the same time. I was like devastated. He was like, "It's just a rod that I gave you." I'm like, "It's not just a rod." I don't use that rod anymore, but I bring it every year. It's like my good luck. Like, I have to have it. But yeah, so
I have a spinning rod that's like 3 inches shorter than it's supposed to be because I broke it like 2 eyes deep, and I literally used like diagonal cutters and just cut that eye down. So now so like you've heard of like moderate and fast action. This one's kind of like a meh action because it's like so far down into the blank.
It's a math action.
Yeah, we could do an entire podcast on. That's what's funny is, that's actually something that I think a lot of YouTubers miss the boat on. Is I put that shit in my videos.
I do too.
Like, I don't hesitate to be like, look, I casted and hooked a rock. Like, I literally did a short one time where I was like, that's a big one, and then I'm like, nah, it's a rock. Like, I literally, I like home run, I jig home run hooks at a fucking log one day, and it was like, I was like, oh, that's a good one, and then I was like, holy shit, no, that's not a fish. Like,
it's a
you could just,
300-pound Mike.
like, literally, after the hook set, my rod bent all the way to the blank, and I was going to the bank, and nothing moved, and I'm like, yeah, that's not a fish. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I actually literally pulled a log off the bottom doing that.
Dude, I fought a carpet one time in downtown Dayton, Ohio. And I'm fishing like I don't know if it was a Mad River or what it was.
Hold on, I gotta look at what time. 1:03. Okay.
1 hour and 3 minutes.
Yeah, I gotta look at that because I gotta clip that out. I caught a carpet one time. That is totally becoming a
It
shit.
took me.
I caught this carpet. It's in the rapids, right? And I'm fishing, and I hook set it. And it's fighting back because it's in the rapids. So it's water. So I set it like, and I'm fighting it. And now I'm in the current. So I'm going downstream and it's pulling me upstream. And I'm like, Jesus, I got something here, And my boy, he's coming down. He's like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know, man. It's huge. It's huge. And I'm reeling and it's fighting me because it's in the current. So the carpet is constantly working. And I'm like, geez. I said, it's not a bass. I said, but it's something huge, and my buddy is like watching, and like, he was like, I'm going to net it for you. And I'm like, please do. Like, this is ridiculous. And finally, like, I get it to surface and I'm like, what is this? And he was like,
quit. You want to
yeah, he was like, did we all just stop because you hooked a carpet? And I'm like, I guess, man. I was like, as long as there's not a dead
mess.
body in it, I don't
Yeah,
care,
right.
dude.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
get the hell out of here. Oh, dude, it was
Oh,
so,
you
it was
weren't
so
in New
wicked.
Jersey, so you were fine.
Yeah, we were in Ohio, so it's not.
You weren't fishing in
Dayton, Ohio.
Delaware. You were fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say in Jersey, there's probably a body on the other end that was
Yeah.
wrapped up in
Well,
that.
if you're
carpet.
fishing like the Delaware River,
Yeah, it was crazy, man. I fought that thing for a good 15 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, this is all. I'm screaming the whole time.
Oh yeah,
Woo!
losing your shit.
I'm trying to pedal, pedal back
That's the
upstream
thumbnail
and
of the
working
video,
it,
right
like
there.
God.
As a
Yeah,
content creator, you're like, oh, I got to get in the water and hold this thing for my thumbnail.
I've never caught a carpet, but I've definitely caught like a tree, like in current that like had a bunch of branches that was like kind of dragging and pulling, and like got all excited and was like really like focused on catching it, and had people around me and that had it like that. As soon as that like first part of that branch came out of the water, I just kind of like let it down and like pedaled away, and then unhooked it because like all these people on the shore like expected me to pull out like Champ, and it was this fucking like 6-inch log with a bunch of branches that were causing drag. Yeah.
Nice. I caught a rock last year. There was it was this weird on Champlain on a crankbait or something. It was through the hole. There was a hole in the rock.
Nice.
I'm reeling. I'm like, I have something. I just don't know what it is. I still have it. I kept it because trinkets.
I kept it.
And I was just like, I mean, once in a lifetime, like,
Yep.
caught a rock via a hole. Like, I don't know. It was cool. I would love to know the story behind that rock and the hole. Like, what the
It's
hell?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's funny. Yeah, it's also fun. Like we actually did it with a fish one time, but it was like the most disappointing fish catch. So we were doing the salmon fishing thing on Lake Ontario, right? So we're in a derby, and this particular derby is like 20 grand for first place. Like biggest fish is like 20 grand. We hooked into a king salmon, and we fought this thing for 2 fucking hours. Like,
Was it a carpet?
no, it was what was funny is it ended up being an actual king salmon, but we hooked it, we foul hooked it in the dorsal. So that fin had full power to do what the fuck it wanted for 2 hours, like it never tired out. We had, I'm not even kidding you, boats in a complete fucking circumference because we're doing donuts. We pulled we thought we had a $20,000 fish on. We pulled all of our rods out. We were taking turns handing the rod off because we're fighting this fish, and it had so much power because we didn't have it in the mouth. We had it in its freaking back. So we're fighting like an 18-pound king that we thought was like a 45-pound king for 2.5 hours, and finally got it in. And we ended up having to like kill it because it was so exhausted that it was basically dead by the time we got it in the boat. But that thing, we had guys with fucking binoculars like watching us fight this fish, and like they must have thought we were just a bunch of assholes that didn't know what we were doing, because then we pulled this fish out of the water, and you would have thought it was this fucking monster, and it was just like little 18-pound king salmon.
I'd be like, we're eating this son of a bitch.
Yeah, we ended up.
Put me through for that.
Yeah, that one got filleted for sure. But
that's
yeah, it's the funniest thing, and that's one of the things about fishing is like you catch some of the weirdest shit and shit you don't expect too. Like I caught the biggest perch I caught in the jigs and baits this year, 2023, was on a swim jig.
Yeah, the biggest
quarter-ounce swim jig.
The biggest pike I ever caught was on a drop shot, right in the corner of the mouth. Beautiful, beautiful hook set. My God. But yeah,
see, that's a technique I suck at.
Okay, so I'm not a vertical drop shotter, but I'm like a cast, and yeah, I love a drop shot. Honestly, a drop shot is always tied on, even in South Jersey, because it gives me that like my weight is in the scum and my worm is up higher. So I should have said drop shot also is one of my number one fast lures.
See, now I will fish a drop shot with like a small swim bait.
I've done that. Works.
Because if you swim it, like you can fish it like a drop shot and do like the shake and kind of pop it, but then when you work it back, it's something about how that weight below it, like pendulums, it like makes that swim bait swim differently, and I've definitely had success doing that.
It also makes it look like that swim bait is like chasing something.
Triggering
a bite to
Oh, you should see some of the redneck engineering I've done with making stuff like that. I made like, I don't know if you should Google it, but there's a rig for salmon trolling called the Twinkie. Okay, so it's literally multiple, and you probably might be familiar with this, PJs. You ever seen a Howie fly?
Yeah.
So it's basically three small mylar flies
Okay.
with then a cut bait head in the back of it.
Yeah, it looks weird as hell.
So it's like basically this weird little like stringer of mylar flies with a hook on the end that you put like a bait on.
Come on, Cabela's.
And
Sorry.
it literally I've made those for bass fishing with like the actual silicone jig skirt material. I used
Is that flare?
yeah, it's basically just like that, yeah. So it's like a weird bait, and I've made those on like I've taken like shrink tube and then glued silicone to it and then like made like multiple strands of it and then put a swim bait behind it. Because sometimes I do think that like having a fish look like it's chasing another fish will cause like bass to like target. The only problem is for me they always seem to target the dummy bait instead of the actual thing with the hook.
Yeah.
Or you get pike, like if you live like where there's pickerel and pike, then the pike just cut the whole fucking thing off because they sideswipe it, and that's why I don't fish I don't fish freaking jackhammers for that reason. It's not because they're not effective. It's not because they're not a great chatterbait. It's because I'm spending $19.99 on something that is a pretty good chance that a pike's going to take back with it.
Yeah, I try to get them on sale when I buy them.
If I can get them on sale, but a lot of times I end up just getting like the OG Z-Man, originals.
Well, no, that's what I meant. I don't own a jackhammer. I own all mini maxes. And this year, what I'm going to do is
those are expensive.
Again, I try to get them when they're on sale or use a credit card.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to try to do
goes a long way.
It does. What I'm going to try to do is buy like the quick replaceable skirts and just try to keep like 3 or 4 chatterbait heads and then switch the colors out. Like if I need white, I just take that skirt off, throw it on, and try to maximize it. Because I will buy 4 of each color. I'll buy like 4 green, 4 black and blue, 4 white and chartreuse. That's a lot of fucking money right there. So if I can buy like the replacement skirts and try to save myself.
Buy the material. Buy the material. Make them yourself.
There's a company. Alex Rudd had a company on. They do like hand-tied jigs. I don't know if they're still around, and I don't remember the name. But the quality of material they use, they have a lifetime guarantee. It lasts a while, and you could literally send them chatterbaits if you wanted to, and have them, pre-tie them for you.
I made almost like half of my own jigs last year. You can literally buy what the hell is it? Fishing skirts online or fishing. You can buy the silicone tabs to make your own. You can buy a kit for like $20. Has all your basic colors and the little rubber bands that go around like your basics. If you wanted to tie them, talk to somebody who ties his own flies because he could teach you about how to tie them on. But basically, you get like the silicone tabs. So a pack of 10 tabs is like $1.50.
Too much. I'm just kidding.
I can teach you a way to tie it. That's going to be super simple, and you could tie up 100 of them to put on your thing.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's like won't cost you hardly anything.
Yeah, because those tabs you can get. I think it's like $1.50 for 10 in a pack, and you can get black, blue. You can get green pumpkin, white. There's even different textures. Like you can get ones that have like ribs to them versus smooth. And then if you want to get really fancy and you want to watch this guy below me's eyes light up, is you can cheat and sneak in a little bit of Mylar to add a little bit of a different material.
I love a bit of Mylar. Mylar is cool as shit.
So they make Mylar tabs for fly fishing for stuff like that too. And if you sneak that in, it creates a little bit of a flash with your silicone skirts, and it creates a little different. And you could actually, if you really wanted to, you probably, if you were hand tying, you could probably sneak marabou in there too.
I was going to say, you had to throw a little bit of marabou on it. You almost have to, because just the way it pulsates in the water, it just adds that extra,
throw a little bit of marabou in there. Because I actually was going to try to figure out how to do that, because like Beast Coast makes a hybrid hair jig that has a little bit of silicone, a little bit of marabou in it, and
marabou is like the greatest material to work with. Yeah, because when it's underwater, if you watch it, if you tie your own jigs, if you tie your own flies, you watch it pulsate underneath the water.
Yeah.
It
You
just
have to
adds
move
that
it.
extra element. Yeah, it
You
does the
literally
work
can
for
just
you.
drop
It's
it on the
great.
bottom and it will just breathe.
Like bucktail, you know what I
It's
mean?
awesome.
Like, do
Yep.
you use bucktail like deer
I
tail
do.
fur? Okay.
I
Next
do
deer I
for
get,
time flies.
the next deer I get, you can have its tail.
And then I dye the colors. I dye my own colors.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah,
I
trust me.
wanna.
All the guys I work with, whenever they get a deer, I'm like, cut the tails off and give them to me. And they're
Oh,
like,
motherfucker!
seriously?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh,
hell yeah! I was like,
Don't-
it's free. It's free.
Do me a
And I will
favor though.
free
Don't
it.
tell me you're sending it. Don't tell him you're sending it.
uh-huh.
I just want him to receive a random box with a cut off deer tail.
I'm gonna
Like,
send it to
I-
you on like Valentine's Day. You're gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
I
It would be
want
that
that
random.
fucking phone. I want that phone call. Like, dude, fucking Janelle just sent me a severed deer tail. Like, what
It,
the
it
fuck?
wouldn't be that random because I've had deer tail show up. I've had squirrel tail show up. Like people will send
Yeah,
me that stuff,
squirrel
and I'm
tail's
like,
a big one.
I appreciate what you're doing here. Like you are hooking me up. I got material coming out my ears.
Yeah.
So
My,
yeah.
my wedding ring for me and my wife has a piece of antler that I found. It's a shed that I
cool.
found in my hometown.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, one of the band. I don't have it on right now. We're not going to talk about it. No, I wear it on a necklace, and I left the necklace at my parents' house because I think I took it off to go to bed and then forgot it, and then drove up north. It happens. She knows I love her. She doesn't. I'll bet money she don't have hers on right fucking now. It's okay. We don't get like that.
That's
but
funny.
yeah, no, that's cool. All right, so then I'm keeping my deer tail. Fuck you. No.
I would
Here's
keep
what
it. I
I'll
would
do.
keep it and dye it for yourself. And you can use it.
No,
I mean,
I'll
it's
personally deliver it to you so you can show me how to tie my own stuff.
Well, I got all this stuff. Yeah, we can meet in Pennsylvania and we can tie our own things. And then no matter
There you
which
go.
way we come from my cabin, you can go out the driveway, turn left, turn right. You're going to go to a river. You're going to go to a creek, and we can fish them both. And it just goes to anything and everything. So
That's sweet. So you grew up
Yeah.
fly fishing or just fishing in general?
I grew up just fishing in general. Grew up walleye fishing and then trout fishing. And my son, he kind of got me into fly fishing. He's a certified guide. He's been out to Montana.
Oh, dang.
So yeah, so he's gone to school for that, to two different schools. He actually guided in Yellowstone, and then I think it was last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Now it's hard to all the years start to run together.
It does, yeah.
Yellowstone 2-3 years ago, they had a storm come through, snowstorm in June.
Oh,
And put
God.
3 foot of snow down, and it took the Mad River, the Yellowstone.
Wow.
It just destroyed the rivers out there. And they told him, fishing, it shut down for a while, for about a month and a half. And he was like, I can't work. I cannot sit
Right.
here for a month and a half. So he came back home and he went to work at a lodge in Pennsylvania and was fly fishing over there with them. So he's the one who kind of got the bug started with me, probably 6-8 years ago now. And
Right.
yeah, once you start going down that wormhole, I mean,
I
it's
still
just-
refuse. I still refuse. I
Yeah.
say this every episode. I'm
But
not
you caught,
doing
you
it.
caught a trout today.
I don't know
you
why.
Caught a
Yeah, right,
trout
you're-
today, dude. Come on, you caught a brown trout. For the love of God, like
Brown
that's
trout
what
are gorgeous.
people. That's what
I
people target.
Can't
you know what I mean? Like,
afford. I don't have another room.
Yes, you can.
It's
you choose
bad.
not to.
You just
know
need
what I
more
mean?
shells.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You, they
literally
break
have an
down.
entire
All your
office.
fly rods break down to 2.5 foot, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it can sit in your corner. I got 6 of them in my garage right now as we speak.
Tube, and then you just need a little tying area. Now, does every person who fly fishes tie flies? Is it
No.
just like is it an inevitable thing or?
Not really. Like
If you're doing it right.
every fly fisherman gets into it, and you're going to buy your own flies. You go to a fly shop, and then you start dropping. Like you'll pick up oh heck, I don't know, a size 22 midge, let's say, and you'll spend $4 on it. Well, I don't have the eyes
You're not cheap.
to tie a 22 size 22 midge, so I purchased those. But then you start losing $4 flies that on the bottom, and you're just like, you're talking minute fraction hooks. You just that's $5 on the bottom of a trout stream that you can walk across, but you can't find a damn thing because it's so freaking small.
Right.
So you want to tie your own flies, and then there are once you start tying,
You got it.
there's basic flies that you can get by, like a Rainbow Warrior. I can tie that in my sleeve,
Right.
and I tie my own you just get creative, you know. I mean,
Oh,
I take burlap sacks now and cut those up and tie, and they look like waxworm mealworms, and you tie them up.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
And then you can take a brush, you know, well, not brush, but Velcro, and you know, just come down on it like that there. And it looks like legs, and you put a little bit of glue on the top there, so it gives it a nice shiny crusted top. You got the legs underneath there. You start getting into that, and it's just like anything, you know, like. I don't know if you become like a cook, you know, you start perfecting how you make a meal and it just starts to look better, you know? So it's anything. And you get into that there and you're just like, wow, I actually created something. Like, I might be pretty good at this. And you're really not, but it looks good to you.
Yeah, right. I don't think this year is the year I get into fly fishing, but probably next year, because I will dive into it hardcore. Like, I will commit. I'll get all the shit. We can't help it. We just can't. But you're gonna be my guide. You're gonna be like my. But
well, I can help you. I can help you to an extent, but anything that is out of my realm, I call my boy, because
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, he knows it. He's been there and done it, and you know he's 24, 25 years old, and
wow.
The experience that he's had already, just fly fishing in Montana, in Wyoming, in Ohio, Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? So he's been all the way up in New York salmon fishing, you know, with fly rods. And
we're Pulaski probably.
He was up Birch Dam, up in what is the name of that place? Elcott, New York.
Okay.
So he's been up in Elcott, New York, and he's caught
I know a lot of
30,
guys
40,
go up
50
to
pound salmon.
Yeah, we were gonna get so my wife and I were gonna get a plot of land that had a very small like shed. We were gonna get one that was really close to the salmon river. We were gonna like Airbnb it when we weren't there, and then like also use it to do our own stuff. We wound up not, but like now I'm just like, damn it.
You said you want to buy a house. I mean.
Yeah, welcome to my hell, man. Welcome to like the headache that is my life.
Yeah.
So between the time that I talked to Bobby on his podcast to right now, my plans have completely like flipped upside down. Like if it was a tote of shit, like of stuff, it would have flipped upside down, and then the lid would have opened, and like things would be kicking all around in the back of your truck. Like my life right now. Like I know I'm gonna be traveling and know I'm making content, but we have so many things that we need to like figure out right now that like was very unexpected, and it's fine because like we're solid and we'll figure it out. But it's like, gosh dang. Yeah. But that makes life fun and also stressful. But back to fly fishing. It's something that like, I mean, I've always looked up to. It's a beautiful craft, like watching people do it. It's just like to have that in the arsenal. I just don't have the time right now to dedicate to it. But yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Once you start catching, like that was my big thing. Like before, you know, growing up, you know, I trout fished. I lived in Pennsylvania, so growing up, all we used was like rooster tails and spinners, and that's all we threw.
Yep,
all the time. And my son, you know, he was, you know, I wanted fly fish, so we kind of got into that there a little wee bit, and then he was like, I'm going to fly school. So he went out to Montana and he did all that there. And we drove him to Montana, which was an absolute blast. We lived out of a van. Absolute blast.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. We drove from Ohio all the way out to Montana. I've seen so many different things and drove all the way back.
That's
so
cool.
It was a blast. That was a trip of a lifetime, and I'm glad that we did it. But like, he came back and he was like, you know, Dad, you got to do it like this. And I'm like, you know, at the time I was in my, you know, my mid 30s, and I'm like, Bud, my body's not cut out for this because my brain is not cut out. And he's taking his time and showing me like, you need to do this and you need, and I start doing it. And next thing you know, like I start catching fish.
Yeah.
And then I start catching fish in Montana and Wyoming out there with him. And I'm like, you know, and he was like, you realize, he's like, you just caught a native. They don't stock in Montana and Wyoming.
God, native, yeah.
He's like, you just caught a native brown. You just caught a native rainbow. You just caught, you know, they're wild. And then it sank into me. I'm like, I just tricked a wild fish into eating something that I tied in my house just because
my techniques, with my
Yeah, and I was like,
I knew the line.
Boom.
Like my cast was just right. The line, everything, the float was perfect. Like, yeah.
Yes, and see, that's where the whole nasty cast thing, like we have that there.
Mm-hmm.
That all started at my cabin fly fishing, because there was this. If we have time for this story, it's pretty cool.
I ain't going anywhere.
There was this stream that runs right behind my cabin. They stock it with stock rainbow and browns and brookies, but you could see this one fish. It was on the far side of the stream, and I'm just learning how to fly fish at this point in time. So I'm no good. I'm not even a fly fisherman at this point in time yet. And I really wouldn't even consider myself yet. I'm still learning. So where this fish was, you had to put like the perfect cast and had to hit, and then the fly had to land like that just to go past him. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I can do this. Oh yeah, I'm bragging. I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. I'm catching this fish. And I'm like, and I have no business even attempting this. But for some unknown reason, I cast, it hits, the fly lands, and the fish, you see the fish's head swing up, and I'm like, he comes up and hits it, and I set, and I'm like, boom, and my buddy's behind me. And him and my son, they watched everything happen, and my buddy's like, oh my God, that was a nasty cast right there. So all weekend long, he starts calling us like Team Nasty Cast. So it kind of got branded like that there, and I'm like, and he's onto something. I'm like, so I started putting on T-shirts and hats and shit, you know what I mean? So like, that's how that whole thing started, but it all came from fly fishing, dude. Yeah. I mean, it was like the perfect little, and I've never been able to make that cast again after that, after the fact.
Some magical moment, but that's like the beauty of it too. You have that.
It just happened,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Janelle.
Yes, sir.
This dude's from your neck of the woods. So you should definitely, he's from Jersey as well, so you guys should hook up, and he has a podcast too.
Hey, let's do it. I'm ready.
So
I'm ready.
It's funny, our audience right here, it's actually an interesting, like, I've talked to other guys about this, but like, so you got Michael Bradley, Scott Vermonter, there's a bunch of guys that literally come in this show, and then they watch ours on Thursday, they watch my main contain every other week with Daniel, they watch Mains, they watch Alex Rudd's. Like, we have this podcast posse that just kind of like at this point, I actually specifically schedule mine on days that those guys' podcasts are not on, so that they don't have to conflict with like the other podcasts, because I want to make sure, like, I'll literally ask these guys if I'm going to do a podcast, like what time they're doing it, if I have to do it on their day, so I can do it earlier.
Yeah.
But see, he wants you to be right here.
Hey. Okay.
Ooh, there you go.
Hey. Let's do it. DM me on the old Instagram. And
he's on Instagram. So. But yeah, and what's really funny is, I will tell you right now, the funniest one is Scott Vermonter. He's actually from Vermont, and no joke, this dude will show up to a podcast 2.5 hours before the hosts show up.
And just sitting there, just doing it.
He'll literally post like, "Hi guys," in the chat, like before I'm even in the post.
I don't even have that kind of time.
Like, I've literally jumped in. I've jumped in to send out a link early and been like, "Oh, Scott Vermonter's already here in the chat an hour before the show starts." Like,
that's why,
it's the craziest thing.
I turned I got on the live, and obviously my camera, nothing was on, because I was literally I was doing chores. Like, I got home from work. I think I had 30 minutes of just on the couch, my ears were ringing because it was just that kind of day. And then I was like, oh, I need to get on this live, but I also need to eat and also make myself something to drink, and also wake up the wife because she's got to go there. She's at the in-laws right now having dinner, and I was just like, okay, and I put it on. I was like, he knows that I'm here. I'll get
fine.
It's but yeah.
It's the thing is I think of all the ones that I watch, this is the most, well, Maine's, I will say, and Maine, don't take offense to this because it's actually a good thing, but Maine's is just his podcast just starts, and then it's just him and usually Brendan talking. It's just it's like we are watching them FaceTiming. It's kind of what it is. And it's honestly, in my personal opinion, I like the podcasts that are just genuine. That was the whole, when I pitched it to PJ to be my co-host, because Bear, my buddy Bear, and if you're watching this, Bear, you suck. You were supposed to be my co-host, and then you got your life together and you stopped showing up, so I had to go find someone else.
You don't suck, man. I'm proud of you for getting your life together. Not with this schmuck. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't have my life together.
Yeah,
Did you pick up
okay.
on that part? I don't have my life together.
The funny part is he's probably sleeping right now because he's the only smart one of us because we're getting up at 4 a.m. to go fishing. But I ended up asking PJ about it, and when I pitched it to him, I'm like, this is how the podcast works. Literally, the premise of this podcast is I pretend like I met you at the boat ramp and we're going to talk about fishing. That's the whole premise of the whole thing is like I don't want to be like reading you and not that like Bobby's interview, for example. Bobby's interview is very scripted but unscripted. It goes off the rails, but Bobby has an agenda.
He can bring it back. He's very good at his craft. 100%.
He is 100% a DJ, an event coordinator. Like he rolls it back over to the topics, and you watch some of these other ones. Like you'll have like Alex Rudd does a really good job of doing like
he does
kind of like a structured podcast that like goes off the rails and comes back. Where like I don't think, and tell me if I'm wrong, PJ. I don't think we've had a topic in like 6 or 7 episodes.
We get so off the rail, dude. There's no bringing it back. There's no bringing it back.
We've started out like we're gonna talk about our goals, and then we're like, "Do you think Bigfoot's real?" Like it's just it's not even like it's not even the same freaking top. Like it's not even close to what we started to talk about.
I think we may have done one at the beginning of the year. Or
Maybe.
the end of the year, one of them like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about this, and we actually talked about it for the majority of the thing because we had nothing. Like it was
just me and you. That's what it was.
It was just me and you, and we kind of stayed focused there. We didn't,
yeah.
But we get a guest on there. Next thing you know, man,
you were too nervous. That's what it was. You were like staying focused, and you're like, now you're just like, fuck this.
We just go off the rail, but we don't even care.
Yeah.
And it was literally like when I was on your show, because it was like we went into like I learned more about like your personal life in a podcast than I probably could have like on a day of fishing with you. Like it was
because
like,
if you're with me for a full day, you're getting it all.
Fair enough. And it's gonna be like that. Like I plan on bugging the hell out of you if you're in my area. You think you can't get away from me inviting you to go